Hello guys and welcome back. So we're going to start implementing the system, and what I've done is I've prepared a couple of shapes. They all start at the origin. All of them start at the origin, and they all have different shapes. So let me merge all of them together just to show you what we have. Okay, this is what we have. This one is quite big, just to create something random, and maybe we can add let's see, can add something else. It's a NURBS surface. I don't have an angle, so I want to create one with a sharp angle. Maybe all these together. I'm gonna flatten these guys. Just adding an angle, and let's put this somewhere else. So these are all the shapes that we're going to use, okay? And it's, again, I just started with an arc, moved it to the center, and did a couple of softs to deform them in a very random way. And obviously this is not limited, you can have anything you want. And the way to do the recursive system in Houdini is using a for each. It's quite intricate, to be honest. It's a bit confusing once you leave the file for a few days and come back, sometimes even in a couple of minutes. So the way it works is you tell the system that you don't want just to loop, you want to feedback each iteration. So you want the cycle to send this result back in. And you also want to tell this node that you don't want to fetch the input, you want to fetch the feedback. Okay, that's how you make it recursive. So we're going to change this to fetch feedback. We're going to change this to merge iteration. And if you look, we're going to feedback each iteration. And if you look at what I've done at the beginning, the for each, I created this one called for each number. And what all it does is it changes the iteration method to by count, so I can choose how much iterations I'm going to run the system for, and this is the increment, so it starts at 1 and then it keeps going. We're probably going to want to start it at 0. I'll explain why in a second. Now see, it made this node. What this allows us to do is once we are inside the for each or the loop, we want to know what iteration we're at, because that's the information that we're going to use to randomize the input switches, okay? And we're going to use an expression to get that information. So let me first connect all these guys into a switch. Sorry. This is all the things, and you can see it goes from 0 to 7. I have 8 inputs. It starts at 0 all the way to 7. Okay, and based on this number, it's going to toggle the input. Now the first thing, we're going to start with this geometry. This is my first input. Okay, and then we want to introduce another, we want to grab a second input from here. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to move it here. We're going to use an expression to get this information. If you see, it says here detail attribute iteration num iteration value, and this node contains the cycle. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use an expression called detail, and I'm going to tell it to read the iteration number from this for each count. Okay, and the attribute is a string. The attribute name is iteration, and then I'm gonna add a 0 at the end to tell it to grab the first value. Okay, so now it's, as we progress through the loop, it's gonna go 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10. But this guy only goes from 0 to 7, and we don't want to go from 0 to 10. So we want to randomize this. We want to use this guy to generate a random value that goes between 0 and 7. And the way to do that is using a random function. So we're going to enclose that into a rand, and this rand takes any input and gives us back a random value between 0 and 1. But we're not interested in 0 and 1. We want between 0 and 7. So we're going to use a function called fit_range. It's a fit range basically, and this one is called fit01. It means it's going to, given the input that goes from 0 to 1, we're going to fit it into something else. So my input goes between 0 and 1, and I want to fit it between 0 and 7. Okay, now see it's 4, and it's going to keep randomizing every time we change that value. So what I want to do is, I know all these guys have 12 points, and every time this guy is going to give me this curve. It's going to give me the curve that it's working with. So I want to isolate the point number 12. So delete non-selected, and I want the last point. And then I'm going to use a copy node, copy 2 points. I'm going to copy the result from the switch into this point. See, now we're copying this randomized curve into that point. And all we have to do is we're going to merge this guy with this. And now we have a first cycle. If we take a look now, we should be able to see, let's see here. Okay, it's not changing the input. Let me check. Why is that happening? Fetch feedback. Yeah, for some reason it's okay. Let me switch this. Yeah, so by merging it here, if the merge node is inverse, this is very tricky. It's not going to isolate the first input. We have to always merge our new result with this one, so that when we isolate point number 12, it gives us the correct result. This is the solution to this is trickier. So let's just get the new data, have that be the first thing, and then the second input is our previous data. Okay, so this is the main input. As you can see now, it's randomizing, it's grabbing the shapes and continuing to select them and copy. Every time we have a result, it isolates point number 12, which is the end point. We copy a new shape from here and then merge that back in. So let me reset the cache. Let's start at 1, and we can keep increasing this. Now I'm not so sure why it's only generating it's only grabbing these shapes. So let's see. It should change. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's grabbing all the shapes, in my opinion. But I think, yeah, I think it's working. Let's see. Yeah, it's working. It's grabbing all the shapes. You know what? I think a good way to do this is by giving them a different color. So let's do that. I'm gonna add colors for each one of them quickly. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's not changing the shapes a lot. I will check this and see what's going on with the loop. It could be what I've noticed is the cache sometimes it doesn't update quickly. It doesn't update correctly. So we'll take a look at that and see what's going on, and then we'll continue adding some more improvement to this. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in a bit.